It's not how they do it on the movies, is it? Yeah, like a clackerboard, that's what we need. Morning, everyone. And the people watching on home as well. As usual, we'll be having a chat, and then you will have the opportunity to ask any questions. Well, not any questions. I mean, you know what I mean? Beyond reason, you know. Well, we'll do our best to answer them. I'm sure you can ask us anything. And then we'll have some lunch. Lindsay, lunch? Yes. So you can hang around for a bit, network, and have some lunch after that. Today's guest is one of the founders of DME Systems, based in South Tyneside, Darren Coombe.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Sometimes you just get a round of applause there, but not, you know. Yeah.
I'm not used to it. It's fine.
I know, right. How about we jump straight in then, Darren? So who are DMS? What are you all about?
DME.
DME? Lindsay, you've got DMS in your... No, you haven't. It's me. It's my eyes. Font's tiny. DME.
DME Systems. So DME is primarily an engineering solutions company. We started that. It was built and founded by a group of engineers, mainly driven by the focus that we have and the passion that we have for engineering. We like the challenges of sort of, you know, the client coming to us with I've got this problem. We want to bury something deeper. We want to push something harder. We want to jet something faster, whatever it may be. So we founded it based on that, the idea to listen to clients, see what they want, develop a solution, own the solution, take it right through to fruition, and hopefully a happy, satisfied client at the end of it. We started 2021 when the company was formed. We originally set up just 2 people originally, and then we started off the idea of having a year at home, just building the company slowly, and that didn't happen.
Right.
That didn't happen. We started like I think September when the company was founded, and I think by sort of February, March, the year after, we already had an office, and we grew out that office quite quickly. We took an office in Quadras business, quite a small office, just 2 originally.
Did Grant help you with that?
And Grant did indeed help us with that.
Yeah, he's the man.
He sorted that out for us, and we found a nice home. It was a lovely little place. Very much supported us during our initial phases. Then we started to land more commercial work. We were working in the background on our baseline products, like the building blocks for the subsea equipment. So we were working on those in the background. Then we started getting our first commercial contracts, and they were straight from abroad and things like that. So much so that we ended up taking quite a big project on, probably only 4 months or so after we moved in that office. And we went, Graham, we need somewhere bigger. So we looked at Jarrow Business Centre because we needed a workshop. So we took the workshop on. I think it was the smallest workshop in the place at the time. So we took that on, and then an office, slightly bigger office, so we had more space. And then 2 of the other directors joined, and then we got our first graduate through. And as we sort of expanded, we brought more engineers in, and that continued on. Then we realized we needed another workshop, so we took another workshop on at Jarrow. Continued to grow. We filled that. We had 1 mechanical, 1 electrical workshop, and then we quickly filled up the office with engineers. So then we asked Gren again, can we have a bigger office? So we took I think probably one of the biggest offices in Jarrow. We took that, which was a massive help. We continued that as long as we could, and I think we eventually packed that beyond. It was getting a bit uncomfortable, you know, you're sitting on people's knee. We filled that up, we filled the workshop up. We eventually started filling the car park up as well, which they were very accommodating with that, having giant winches in the car park and things like that.
Nodding away there. He's like, oh.
Yeah, we didn't even get complaints about that, so I really appreciate it with that. And then probably by mid last year, probably early 2023, we already started having conversations with Gren saying, look, we need to look somewhere bigger, because the equipment that we come through is generally, as it's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think the systems that we're putting through now are circa 25, 30 ton equipment. So we struggled to try and find somewhere, and Gren did his best to try and find somewhere as well. And then I don't know if it was luck or just Gren's good work, but eventually he found a company called Penguin who were stepping up into bigger premises, and it worked out perfect for us. So we said, we'll have that. And then we started talking to them, and in June this year, we moved into the Garwood Street. And that's our new home, which is much better, much bigger facility. Plenty of office space. Well, we did have plenty of office space.
Don't say you've outgrown it again.
Yeah. So we're currently looking to expand the offices at the minute. We're going to put another section of offices, hopefully not 20 desks in there. But the workshop will be the next challenge, which we've already started talking about new solutions to the workshop and try and expand that, lay down areas and things like that, because the equipment that we do is obviously getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Obviously, you moved quite a few times there.
Yes.
Are you desperate to stay in South Tyneside?
I'm absolutely desperate to stay in South Tyneside. Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah. That's. I mean, as one of the directors, I'm born and bred South Shields, so it's convenient for me, if nothing else.
What about the other directors? Are they this side of the Tyne?
Two of them are this side of the Tyne, but quite. So one guy, Richard, he lives in Hartlepool. Stephen lives in Shildon, and Michael lives in Heaton.
So you're bringing everybody over?
Yeah. So I've just. I mean, they might call it selfish, but yeah.
No, we don't. We love that. What sectors are you working in then?
I'd say probably 90% of our business is in marine renewables through one form or another. We do a lot through our core business. Is the guys that we all grew up doing is trenching, so laying the subsea cables around power and telecoms. More recent, in a big part of the project, things that we do now is oceanographic engineering and science. So core drilling, down to see how hard the ground is. Again, linked heavily to marine renewables. It means that we're now involved at the early days of a wind farm. So the initial going out and finding, is the ground hard enough to put a wind tower in? What type of mooring equipment will be required to put it in? What type of installation equipment will be required? We'll go out and we'll develop some CPT machines, which cone penetrometer test machine, which goes out and basically pushes a rod through the ground to evaluate how hard the ground is. On the ground where it's too hard for that, then we do a core drilling system, which drills down to the current one. I think drills down to something like 50 meters. We're currently in development with one that goes down to 100, maybe even 120. We'll see how we get on. Basically cores down, and each section brings about 2 meters of test sample back out and brings that back and stacks it in a carousel system back to the surface, so that the geotechnical engineers can then evaluate if they're going through sand, rock, clay, etc.
Are those your engineers, or does that sample go back to somewhere else, to the client? Or
the clients do that, so that's essentially their main core business. For the geosciences teams.
So you get it out for them to then.
So they operate the equipment. So we basically design and develop the equipment for them to do. So they'll go out, they'll do that, they'll pull it back to the surface, they'll pull the samples out, and then, like you say, the geosciences guys they do their thing. It looks like rock and mud to me, but they know what it is. And then from that, they'll go to the wind farm developers and say, okay, these are the different types of areas you've got. These are the different samples that you've got. It's rock, it's clay, you need this type of pile, or you might need this type of big drilling machine to put a pile in. So we're involved in that, in those early development stages now. And then as the wind farm moves through into completion, the cables that go between each wind tower back to the distribution and the substation, the inter-array cables, we work with the clients who trench those in through jetting or rock cutting, depending on the type of ground. And then after that, they'll look at the main export cable, which might be a 450 mil high power cable that'll run from there back to the shore to obviously be put in the national grid. And that'll generally be like normally quite a big machine that'll maybe put 3 megawatts of power into the ground to try and cut a trench and bury the cable as it goes out of the side. Then obviously we do all the upgrades of these machines, which the trenching industry has always been built on. Everything's always bigger, better, faster, deeper. There's always something like that. Which obviously from an engineering background is fantastic for us. It's big boys' toys, and so we get those types of challenges that come through every month by month. We want to do this. What do you think?
Do we all get it? Do we understand that? It's a doddle, isn't it? Is this transferable skills? What you're doing? We've got fans from the automotive side here, and other sectors, or
I think so. I mean, we've got at DME with engineering teams. We've sort of, it's always good to have different mix of skills. I think you can get in a rut. We've done this. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. It's not necessarily the only way to do it. So we try to dilute both the skills that most of us have got, because obviously we've been in the industry quite some time. And then we bring some new engineers in from various, petrochemical type engineers, as well as I think we've had some guys from automotive and things like that who just bring different avenues of thought into it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's often useful because sometimes they, well, why don't we do this? And you know,
Yeah.
I didn't actually think of that, because your mind tends to drift down something you've done before. So it's always good to put different set of skills into it. And like I say, at the minute we're tending to do that. We're trying to bring a few new engineers, a few experienced engineers around the skill set. So it's been quite good.
Good. Obviously, the quick growth there. Is there a strong demand for solutions like yours now?
I don't know whether it's just fantastic timing or what, but it's always a risk starting a business up. We just found the perfect time. The industry as a whole is just booming. There's lots and lots of work going. There's lots of projects kicking off.
Yeah.
There's lots of big challenges coming forward, and I think our opening up into the geosciences element, as well as we're trenching, it's just been fantastic. It's like it's just been a huge boom. We've had an overload in terms of workload, which has been fantastic. And that's sort of just driven along this quite aggressive growth route. Some of it's out of interest. I mean, like you don't want to turn a project down because it's that looks really interesting. Let's do that. You know, let's try something new. I think probably looking back, there's some projects we probably should have went, no, you haven't got capacity for that. You know, and there's been some really late nights to do those and things like that, and weekends and everything under the working every hour in the sun, but they've come out right.
So have you got a forecasted order book that you need to deliver on?
Well, in terms of as we sit as DME, we've probably got enough secured work now to probably last us another 2.5 years.
No way. Wow.
Without any external sales.
Yeah. How cool is that? We need this job, don't we? Wow. Imagine having that.
Got to deliver it. That's the problem.
Yeah. He's a good engineer over there, actually. Yeah. Rosie, get back in. Get back in.
Yeah. So getting the work hasn't. I don't want to say this, but I mean, that hasn't been the problem. We've had a decent stream of work coming through, mainly through good connections and good contacts we've had, and you know the reputations that we've built up over the years has paid with dividends. You know, and that due to that we haven't really had to fight for work that hard. We've managed to find it and deliver well, and that's sort of accelerated work. It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Now with our links and things and our new route, we've got internal development routes and things like that, which are building assets for the next 2.5 years. So we've got that, and then on top of that, we've still got our trenching and everything else that we're looking at. So, you know, that's cream on the top type stuff in terms of the workload.
New place, I think.
We've already been discussing that.
It's already been discussed, because working on it. Okay. Maybe something out at sea because we've got no more land left, surely. Yeah. That leads us nicely into the merger with, is it Woocheen?
Woocheen. So Woocheen is the business element of a company called Sealaska. About Sealaska. So Sealaska was formed, don't quote us on dates, I think sometime around the 70s. Basically, the US Congress wanted to give something back to the Native Americans. So they give huge areas of land in Alaska to sort of develop their logging and things like that. I mean, it was an area, and that they basically take this land originally, and then they started doing logging to bring revenue in, and then this revenue was basically spread between all of the Native Americans, and it goes back into infrastructure building and things. So any profit generated from Sealaska as a whole goes back and gets reinvested into Native American lands and areas there for, like say, road building and road maintenance, and just try and basically help as much as they can. The Woocheen side of that is the business element. So they moved out of logging about a number of years ago. They moved out of logging, which was a big step for them, and then started to diversify into various other areas. They want to try and push mainly around the ocean science and the ocean, basically trying to keep the ocean in a good state, or trying to repair. So they've got some heavy investments in terms of seafood. Some of it a big chunk of it is in the UK, actually down Grimsby. So a lot of the seafood that you buy in Marks and Spencer's and places like that, that's all come through the Sealaska seafood businesses down south. So that's a big part of their business. And then now the geosciences element is a new diversification for them. They've invested heavily into a company called Seas Geosciences, which is one of the operators that we talk about. So they'll go out and they'll actually do the geosciences to drill or core sample and find out what the ground is. They own a company called Causeway across in Ireland, who are, again, they're a near shore type drilling company. Scantech, a UK based company, and they do geosciences. And then there's us. So when we first started talking with them, they basically bought a company in the US that had some assets, the drill rigs and things like that. They weren't in a good state. So they contacted us and we got talking to them and went across to San Francisco to have a look at them. They needed some work very fast. It was interesting work, so we jumped straight on that. And we spent the last 6 to 8 months on both that and the CPT, putting new control systems on, upgrading their capability so they could go heavier, deeper, faster, the usual stuff that comes up with it. And we started working together quite well. And then they eventually approached us to see if we'd be interested in like a merger. And we originally obviously, well, no, the company's too young. But as we moved through we worked together really closely for the last year and a half. It just become more evident what the people orientated, people driven. Yeah, there was so much synergy between us and them. It started making sense, you know. And in terms of where it could put DME's already sort of fast trajectory with the investments in the driver, the resources they've got, it sort of linked up well. And basically we could flash forward 2, 3, 4 years in our business plan, as well as maintaining the core teams, the core beliefs and drives, which were engineering and people, you know. And they've been fantastic with that. So we eventually said, yeah, let's do it. And that's where we are now. And since then, obviously, it's been quite new. I think August we completed the merger, and since then the interaction's been fantastic.
So you're about 30 strong now here?
There's about 30, maybe 31 now, I think.
Over there,
in terms of the breakdown of different businesses, I mean, it'll be in the thousands that they've got across the various spread of businesses. C's Geosciences, who we work the closest with in the group, they've went from when we first started working with them in the US, there was 2 of them, and now there's, I want to say 85 or so of those operating. I mean, they've done quite a lot of campaigns in Italy over the past 6 to 8 months, quite successfully. I think yesterday, I could be wrong, but yesterday I got an email saying that they broke an industry record on the speed of drilling, which was good for us because obviously we've done the control system for it. Yeah. So they broke a record on how fast they could drill a borehole. And then they've now got work guaranteed for the next few years I know they've got a lot of work down California off the coast. I believe they're going across to South America in the coming months. They've brought new assets online. They're currently in Singapore. We've got guys in Singapore now going through some of the acceptance testing on some equipment they've bought. That's all getting shipped across. So their sort of infrastructure's building day by day. So it's a significant investment from Sealaska. The good thing for us is that they want to base a lot of that right here, which is good. So
you mentioned people quite a lot, and then the Native American piece about the log, and that sounded quite values led as well. Do you find that your values sort of linked up with the American?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I had my first interaction with the board of directors, and they are totally driven by that. They're not driven by the corporate element. They're more driven by the longevity of what they do, which again is obviously the ocean health is the big thing that they want to drive. So non-invasive sort of engineering is one of the big things they don't want us to do. So certain areas that we used to work in, such as mining and things like that, it's not a big player for them anymore. It was never a big player for us anyway. So but it's not something they've sort of driven and pushed. It sort of steps away from their value. So there's been a bit of alignment between the two, but generally speaking, everything else sort of just fit in place perfect.
Yeah. Have you had them across here?
We have 16 of them across next week. Right. So not so much the Native American board, it's more the corporate Woocheen sort of and Sealaska board. Some of those are across next week, as well as we've got some contingents from most of the geosciences groups coming across next week. Mainly, this is the first, other than C's, this is the first introduction to a lot of the other groups that we love, which should be interesting. And then a couple of us are going across to Los Angeles and San Francisco early next year, to go and visit a few of their facilities and see some of their equipment. Idea being eventually we want to hone the technology and do new things and on the subsea side of things, but then eventually we want to rattle this new technology back on shore through Greg drilling and causeway, etc. That's the idea.
When the crew come over, where are you going to take them? That's what we want to know. What are you going to do with them when they get
Well, I'm in the process. I've currently booked tomahawks for a night,
Oh,
and then
okay.
second night I think we're trying to book landmark in the town. So that's the plan. That's the plan.
Yeah, you've got to show them around.
We've been to Joyce, but last time there were a few of them were across here. We took them. We've had them for a little drive down the coast and things like that. Terry Downs, who's the CEO of Sea Alaska,
Right.
he loves the place. He loves sort of northeast England. He was very driven when we first started to build this as a base. So although obviously when he first met us, DME were working from a relatively small office in Jarrow.
Yeah.
He instantly seen it as a place where he like, let's focus most of the geosciences business here.
Right.
He likes the area. He likes obviously as he moved up Northumberland and things like and it's lovely up here. Let's face it. So it's been a big drive from him, particularly to stay up here as well. Which,
excellent.
Again, it's one of those things that aligned perfectly with us.
Perfect. Yeah. Actually, that leads us nicely then, because you've name dropped quite a few businesses across the pond. What about over here? What about South Tyneside? Are you working with any local businesses?
So, to us, since we've made that quite a focus since we started. When we started especially in the business centre in Jarrow, there was a few little small companies there that were just starting sort of the same time as us. So we try to make a point of pushing those as well. So, for example, a lot of our machining, we put a lot of our machine through AM Precision, who were literally across the car park, which was fantastic. It might not have been for them because we were there every day, but they were really good. You got Durham Sheet Metal literally across the road for us now. Yeah, we put work through them. I'll write this down because I know Industrial PC Solutions, which is again literally there, and Cut Print Design. They used to do a lot of our marketing and branding equipment and stickers and things for the equipment. So we try and keep as much as we can local. Obviously, some of the equipment that we do is quite special, so bits and gadgets and things need to come from Norway and in the US, etc. But anything we can build in the northeast of England, we push that, and anything we can build in the car park, we'll build in the car park. It's that sort of way we do it.
And have you got them working 14-hour shifts as well?
As much as possible, yeah. And if they're not, they're normally one of our lots on the phone to them saying, "Why aren't you?"
So with the pledge, obviously, it's encouraging businesses to sort of trade locally. What about the workforce as well?
Again, as much as we can, we'll get from the local area. There's a few engineers who don't travel miles, but I mean, they're still from like the Hexham sort of area and things like that. I think the furthest one we've got a guy that works. He lives in Stonehaven and he stays down here for a week and then goes back home for a week and things like that. But generally speaking, as much as we can get from around the local area, then we'll try and maintain that. The northeast is actually quite a fantastic hub for the offshore and marine subsea engineering. It's sort of a big contingent. There's a few big companies around here, and the engineers tend to flow around these companies. So it's like you say, you've normally got a quite good pick, probably better than I'd say anywhere in the world in terms of subsea engineering.
Really? Oh, great stuff. So you plan to stay and grow in South Tyneside. What does the vision look like? What's it like? You mentioned a business plan before, and you accelerated that business plan. Have you got that going forward? Have you got a plan? Yeah,
I mean, to us, it needs to be a whiteboard at the minute because it's changed that much over the last. As fast as we're putting a target in place, we've been exceeding the target and rebaselining. But now that we've had the merger and things like that, that's obviously changed it significantly in the way we do things. The plan is for DME to become sort of the administrative hub of the geosciences group as a whole. So we'll be pushing new jobs into DME, both internally for DME and as part of the group. So I think we're currently recruiting for a finance director for the group, project accountant mainly for DME, but some of C's, as well as there'll be administrative level work as well for purchasing and things like that. Technical engineering, we're pushing for more technical engineers. I think we've got adverts out there currently for mechanical, electrical, and hydraulic, and probably software soon, maybe electronics. So we're just on a big drive. Basically, there's and then I think we've got shop floor. I think we've got some technician positions either available now or becoming available imminently. So it's just quite a rapid growth, and that's not going to stop.
And as more people come in, you have to be more people orientated. So a lot of HR stuff, a lot of culture stuff, making sure everything's. Is that something that you've had to work on? Yeah, the culture stuff is something that obviously we try and keep a hold of personally and push that through from a passion. The HR side of things, in terms of the administrative element of HR,
that's the advantage of being part of a bigger group. We can consolidate that to look after it all. So that's been good. That's still being worked through. But the big thing for us is the way that we've, in terms of keeping it people focused organization, because our values didn't sort of differentiate, or they didn't differ. We were able to maintain all the things that we do. So I mean, a couple of months back, we had our company barbecue, the first one. So we had the car park filled with bounty castles and steak vans that come and had loads of food and some in an open bar, things like that. You know, and it's good. It gets everyone out, gets them mingling, because it's quite easy to, especially, you know, if you get introvert engineers, it's quite easy to shut with doors, go and sit in there and just sit and design. And it's nice to get everyone around the table, and we'll bring the families in as well. So everyone brings the families and the kids and everything. We had a which was quite hard to organize, but we had a Nerf fight set up in the building. So when we walked back in the building, obviously we were all having a few drinks outside, and we walked back in the building. There's 550 Nerf bullets everywhere in the building. Yeah. So thankfully we told the kids they could take them home if they cleaned them up, and they did a fantastic job. Wow. Yeah, absolutely fantastic job.
When the kids, like when they burst all the bullets through, they used the butt of the gun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my son used to do that with me.
I got pistol whipped twice from the toilets.
Yeah, they're bad. It's not good. It's not good. So you've obviously got a few roles to fill there. Where are you going to bring those people in from? Do you find there's a hard getting the skills in?
Some have been. I mean, engineering has been a constant sort of recruitment that we've been doing. So a lot of that has been through word of mouth and in contacts we've got, things like that. LinkedIn has been a good one. So LinkedIn has been quite a good promoter. We have a website, which is obviously now it's better for us, because when we first started out, having a website's one thing, no one knows it's there. But as we get bigger, more people are using the website. We do use reads and things like that, Indeed, etc. We'll post things on that. But we try to go looking everywhere. Woocheen obviously has its own, so we'll push that at Woocheen. So the director position, etc. That's all on Woocheen's as well. So. You know.
What attracts people to the business? Is it money? Is it culture? Is it?
I think it's a bit of everything. It's not like it used to be. I don't think. I think every company now is having to change the way that they do recruitment. Before it was that's your salary, that's your pension, you know. Whereas now it's the can I work from home? Is that flexibility there? Yeah. What's my salary like? What's the package like? What do I do in terms? What's the culture of the company like? You know, and all these little things now. It's become more and more. It's not so much about these three big things anymore. It's about the huge list of small little bits and pieces, and things like, you know, like the barbecue. You know, things like that. It's a culture thing, and it's a nice place to work. We keep it light. You know, no one's sitting there. We don't believe in everyone coming sitting with a shirt and tie on and being very focused. Now it's light. There's lots of joking and carrying on and things like that, as well as serious work. And I think those things are the main drivers that bring people to us. We've had no one leave, so it's always a good thing.
Fun but professional.
Absolutely, good. Absolutely,
good stuff. Obviously, you're breaking records as well, and exciting projects and all that good stuff. So when you're attracting people in, they want to work on good stuff, don't they? They want to be interested.
That's one thing we definitely do promote. The equipment that we build. It's really interesting. It's an engineer's dream. Let's face it. It's not. We very rarely make more than one of something. Right. It's normally prototype. You don't actually get a prototype. The first one's got to work. So it's normally make something. So you don't know that it's like a jigsaw. I always try to describe it like the jigsaw.
Have your live mind before you give your stories away. Okay?
The jigsaw. You don't know the picture of the jigsaw when you first get it. Right. You know it's roughly going to have a lion on and a tiger. But you don't know what it looks like. Okay. And that's from an engineering perspective for us, because of fast-paced projects, you need to know roughly what the thing, and within a few days you need to be, okay, I know it's got a line, that's all of the lion's head, that's all of this. So you're ordering parts before you even finish the design, because you need to squeeze it all in that fast turnaround. The offshore industry works seasonal. They often award a project in the summer this year to be implemented the summer next year. So at best we have 12 months to go from the client concept right through to sea trials and operation. So it's those types of things. It's fast paced, pressure's on, but it's interesting. It's like, and often it's high powers. It's big boys toys, like I say, which keeps you interested as an engineer, especially.
So fast paced, intricate projects.
Very much so, yeah.
That you've just given an example of a jungle jigsaw.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to simplify it. Engineering by crayon.
So what lessons have you learned along the way then, with your experience?
I think the lessons I've learned certainly is, and it's something I tend to, don't be afraid of risk. Be cautious of
War
risk.
stories, by the way. So any war stories, throw them at us.
I definitely say don't be cautious of risk.
Okay.
Don't be afraid of it. Sorry, be cautious of it. Plan it out. Don't make silly decisions, but make bold decisions. And we've sort of run by, and often more's lost by indecision than wrong decision.
Okay.
Is how we tend to roll. You know, we could have quite happily sat as a small company and just plodded on and took some jobs. And have we took on jobs that were too big for us at the time? 100%.
Okay.
100%. Did we have the drive and dedication to make sure they worked? 100%. You know, so having the right people around you who are like-minded, who are all driven, dedicated, you know, there's an element of you can do anything, you know, and I think that sort of spurred us along a lot. Not having the people there who are the same as you, you know, they're all driven, they're all dedicated, whatever hours are required. You know, when we were sitting there midnights and that with getting the Chinese delivered to security at Garwood and that, so we can still eat on at 11 o'clock at night, you know, that type of thing to get the work done. You know, jumping on a plane, flying to somewhere the next day to go make sure it's working correctly or whatever. Those types of things, don't be scared of them. You know what I mean? Embrace them, run with them. And there's always people out there to help. There's always people out there for advice and things like that. And lean on it, use it.
Yeah.
You know
what do you do about that? Do you have mentors or?
We have a big network of people that we talk to.
Yeah.
And like you say, we've been in the industry quite some time. We know a lot of people in the industry, and we've got good relationships with them. So we've had some brilliant clients, that's for sure. The client, when we first started up, capital was obviously a big driver. We've been lucky in a position that we've never had to take out huge loans or anything like that. But we've had clients who sort of believed in our capability. And so we went back and said, oh, you know, these payment terms, you know, which I think are much better than we'd ever get normally, but they've sort of been invested in us so much that they've given us those payment terms to help us along. And obviously doing that has allowed us to build the reserves to take on bigger projects as we move through. So having the right relationships with the clients is king. Listen to them. You know, we're not a commercially aggressive company. We don't try and hammer the client for every pound. You know, we'd rather spend, you know, that 3% of a margin. We'd rather spend it to make sure we get the best job possible and it improves for the client. You know, in that collaborative environment, you get the best product, and that returns dividends later on because the client's happy with the product. They come back every time, you know, which is good. And that I think the clients have been, to some respect, our best mentors in this type of thing.
In terms of the business then, as it grows, do you have to have a bit more of a strategic view on things like the budget that came in last week and like the NI going up and that sort of stuff? Who sort of takes that role, and have you now started to outside the project engineering side, had to start looking at that bit?
Yeah, it's a bit different to how it used to be in terms of like it is. I don't profess to enjoy that element of the work, but between like Michael Van Zwanenberg, he's one of the directors. Between him and myself, we normally look after those types of bit of the business. Now we've got a lot more resource behind it in terms of the parent company, but we do have to take more attention. I mean, yesterday, obviously, the US elections occurred, and there's talks of tariffs coming in, and now we obviously trade internally between a US entity and we're a UK entity through legally. So, you know, how do we deal with that? Those have to be considered. Millions of pounds being transferred internally that we're going to get tariffed on. You know, how do we deal with that? So those types of discussions and advice have to become. But thankfully now, like I say, we've got a lot more help behind us now to find the right way through these. I think when we first set up and still do, we do rely quite heavily on taking advice from, like I said, the international trade and things like that. They've been quite good. We went on some courses around when we first set up around export, to learn what the do's and don'ts are, where the pitfalls were. Obviously, our technology that we do, a lot of it does come into the dual use sort of area, which, you know, use fiber optic technology to communicate with this vehicle. You use fiber optic technology to communicate with a missile or whatever. You know what I mean? So you've got that area you need to navigate around it to be, oh, we're doing this, we're not doing that. And Department of Trade and things like that, they were really good when we first set up. They didn't lock. We went through some courses with them and things like that, and done some off-site days to talk about that and that type of thing. Just basically pulling the resources from where it was available.
Yeah.
And we continue to do so, to be honest.
Reflecting back, what would you have done differently with the business?
That's a hard one.
You've had a few sort of jumps around different offices and workshops. Would you have went all out initially, or do you have to take them sort of baby steps to get through?
I don't think we'd necessarily do anything different. I think I would love to say, oh yeah, we'll just jump in a massive facility straight away. But if I'd done that, then we'd all be sitting there with a huge amount of debt hanging off at the beginning, whereas we've organically grown fast, but we've organically grown without huge amounts of debt and things like that, which allow us to say, well, okay, well, let's take this guy on. Yeah. He's a bit more expensive. He's a good engineer or whatever. And we can do that because we don't have huge debt hanging over. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think, I'm not sure if there's anything we'd do different, to be honest. I think I'm not saying we've done anything perfect, but I think. How
many years now since you founded?
I think it was September 21. It was started. 21. That's when the company was founded. But we didn't really start doing any real work until sort of March, April 22.
You haven't had time to do anything wrong.
That's it. I mean, if you make a mistake, you live with it very quickly. Like I say, the growth pains have been that quick that you don't really feel them that bad.
And there is no wrong, really, is there? Because whatever you do is took you to that next step. Yeah. To make you navigate around.
Absolutely. Like, it's one of them things where you can regret's one of them things that I don't really believe in. We've made a jump. We've tried something new, and we've been successful, and it's paid off. Some projects have been hard projects. Some projects have been good projects. Yeah. The ones that have been hard, we might have made a lot less money than we were going to make, but you can take the good parts of it and say, okay, well, we've developed this bit of technology that we've got. We've got this widget now that's in the library for we can use again. We've had that pain. Let's recover that pain over the next 10 years by using this component again. Things like that. You just got to take I think it's more of a mental state than anything else. But
yeah, it is. Within the business is the people that take on those roles, or that mental state. Somebody does all the stressing, you do all the client bits, someone does all the work. Do you kind of fit together nicely? And
yeah, it's been a good mix. It's really good mix. I'd say Michael definitely does all the stressing.
Right.
I think I'm probably more the optimist.
Okay.
Michael's the man of caution.
Right.
And then in the middle of that, you've got sort of Rich and Steve. Rich just plods on. He's a gentle giant. He just plods on and smashes through work. And Steve runs around crazy on the electrical side. So it's, we've sort of mixed together really well. There's been high points, there's been low points, we've all shouted at each other and things like that. But, on reflection now, we've got a team that's that size now. We've got a nice big facility. But then it's fresh in my memory that but less than 2 years ago, we were sitting in the small kitchen in the workshop, and every day we were bringing a joint of meat or something and putting it in a slow cooker, and we're all having a dinner together. It was like it's not that far away, so you still remember that thing. So now you have your bad days, and you think, well, but look where we are. And it's been really
Michael,
good.
The man of caution, clearly doesn't shout loud enough because you've just dragged him through this in the last 2 years.
Yeah, it takes both, doesn't it? Sometimes it takes him to be pulling the reins to slow me down.
Right. Okay.
Equally. Come on, Michael, let's give it a shot. And things like that. And right from the beginning, we've had to do that to, like you say, you can get so cautious that you don't get anywhere.
Yeah.
And it takes the right mix of people. The one thing I've definitely found through me more than my career is you cannot do this by yourself. You need the good mix of people. Yeah. And I think the best way to do anything like this is to surround yourself with the best people. And if you can keep them like-minded, keep everyone invested, keep everyone happy. It's a good place to work. You enjoy your job. And if you make a profit as a business and you grow as a business, then, bonus.
When you surround yourself with good people, they always can get out of their way as well. Is that something you guys tend to do? Like, you don't micromanage, just let them crack on? Or
to be honest, we've been that busy. We haven't got time to micromanage.
No,
most of the guys that we've got come in, hit the ground running. We're not afraid of changing processes and things like that. We're such a young company. We've had people start, even a few months back, I want to change the process. Let's do this way. Fine. Try it. If it works, fail fast. Do it, try it. If it fails, okay, we'll change it again. And that mentality is sort of driven along. We're not scared of change. And like you say, I don't want to tell someone how to do their job. Often they're better than me, so do it.
It's nice being in a smaller business which is agile and flexible to do that. You work for a larger corporate, there's processes in place, and rightly so for a reason. Do you kind of enjoy that bit?
Yeah, like you say, from our perspective, we haven't been driven that all around the corporate. We have some new financial reporting and things like that, but other than that, there's nothing but support. You know, so things like how we do stock holding and things like that. They're not interested in that. It's not what they do. They want us to operate as DME. They've invested in DME because of what it is. They don't want to come in and change it. Other than having some numbers pop up at the top so they globally know what their business are doing. That's all they've done. Yeah. I mean, so we haven't been bombarded with process at all. And our processes internally, we're trying to keep as few as possible. You know, we definitely don't want to become a paperwork-driven company that needs 6 forms to go to the toilet type thing. You know, we want it to be flexible, fast, and want people to spend the time doing the thing that they enjoy and do right, rather than filling forms and following a process that doesn't work. And again, the big thing is if the process doesn't work or it's slow and cumbersome and there's something a better way to do it, change it. Yeah, sure. You know, don't be afraid of that.
And have you brought in technology and systems to help with the business as it's grew?
Yeah. So when we first set up, we use a 3D design package. We use an Autodesk product. We managed to get a grant through Autodesk itself to get us started. I mean, that's a huge saving. I mean, the thousands and thousands of pounds each license that you get. So they give us licenses up for like 4 years, which is brilliant. You know, it saved us an absolute fortune when we first started. Because that we've sort of heavily invested into Autodesk. So as we've grew, initially we had just the Autodesk design packages and we had like a file structure. As we've grown to that, we've invested in the vault. So all of our designs are then checked into a secure vault system so that no one can he kind of change it while he's working on it and this type of thing. So we've done more so in engineering so far. As we're getting bigger, we are having to look more at how we handle stock, you know, things like that, how we push purchase orders through and things like that. We've kept it quite lean at the beginning, more so because we wait until there's people coming that have a more vested interest who know what they're doing with it. You know, we're engineers, we're not purchasing experts or we're not finance experts. So there's no point just putting a system in that someone comes and someone who knows what they're talking about comes in and puts
business, you need to wear them hats, though, don't you?
You do. That's why we pick the easy ones.
Right. Okay. So. Leave that to Michael and Cole.
Yeah, right. She's done well. Like so, the things that we've done well have done well for a smaller business. Certainly, we're not naive enough to think that you can run the same small systems for the future as we get bigger. But again, we're not too concerned about change. And because we're part of a larger group now, we've got advantage of we don't have to go out and invest £200,000-300,000 on this huge system that scares the hell out of us. Because is it good? Is it bad? We don't know, and it's a huge investment. We can pull it straight from a larger corporate too. Now we've run this, we've tested it. You know, you can just pull that in dead easy. So that type of thing is, we're obviously only a month into it, really. So we haven't done that yet, but that's the next steps to be pulling from the larger corporation down where we want, take what we want, reject what we don't want.
Yeah, good. I think we'll open it up to the floor. If anyone's got any questions for Darren, Rosie, she wants a job. Sounds good.
Please, can it work for you? I was wondering what you're saying about having lots of like introverted engineers and things like that. How, because you moved so many times in such a short space of time, how did the people side of it deal with all those changes?
The short distance between Jarrow and South Shields was probably a good bit, but no one really minded too much. There's a few who didn't like the extra mile or so, put a bit of traffic in you, but.
I mean, just the change in your surroundings. Like if I moved office in the same company, it took me like a week to get used to my new space. I just wondered if like that kind of thing happened.
No, not really. Everyone, I mean, to us it was a nicer office, so it's always nicer going that way, I'd imagine. But when we moved to new offices, especially like Garwood Street, it was like a breath of fresh air, you know, because previously it was squashed in, you know, and it was busy. If you had a new desk, it was going on someone else's desk. It wasn't, you know, we didn't have that space to add in our room. Whereas now, everyone's got a bit more room, they can lay drawings out and things like that. So it's probably always easier going more positive. But no, to be honest, we didn't really have any issue with that. No.
Good. Anybody else? Paul?
Yeah. You've touched on networks and relationships and people. How important has those been? I'm imagining you've built these relationships over the years in previous roles. How important were they in quickly growing the business?
Fundamental. We did. That's one thing that, on a positive note, we totally underestimated how beneficial the relationships and the reputations that we built up in other roles. I didn't envisage how useful they were going to be. That's why when we first set up, we had a very, very modest business plan that we probably jumped within the space of 6 to 8 months. We jumped from where we anticipated being in year 1, we ended up jumping to like year 4. We always sort of planned on, we'll build a business, we'll do some work at this level, and then eventually we'll try and get in with these sort of tier 1 companies. We basically just jumped straight to tier 1 companies and bypassed all the sort of the sub companies below that. The relationships that we have was a bit funny when we first started, because we weren't just working with traditional client. We were working with people who've been our suppliers, people who are our competitors, and actually the customers. We've been working at all levels. And like take winches, for example, some of the winch manufacturers who could be, they've always supplied that type of thing. We've been in with them, doing control systems for them. Equally, we have competitors, but we've been supplying sort of compensator systems to them. We've been working with them to commission some of their equipment. And then you've got the operators at the top. We've been supplying equipment to them. So it's been really good in terms of, there's no animosity between a competitor. It's been, there's a good period of work. Everyone's busy, so we've been working in collaboration on some jobs. Equally, there might be a job the next day that we've won that contract, or equally we've lost that contract here. But there's no animosity to it. Everyone's just been working on and getting on the job, which has been fantastic. It's all about friends, and especially in terms of it's a local community that we've got in the subsea engineering. It's not a huge community, but it's very localized to the northeast of England. So having that communication, having that network of people, and not having any animosity around winning a job or not, it's been really nice to work in.
Across the northeast, entrepreneurship is relatively low compared to other UK regions. What message would you give to people who may be considering starting on their own?
Goes back, like I said before, I'd say don't be scared. Be cautious, but don't be scared. It's as long as you think things through, I don't think there's any risk to it. Especially, it depends what the industry you're in, but generally speaking, if you put the time, you put the dedication in, and again, you surround yourself with the right people, whether it be network for clients or whether it be a team to work with. I think the world's your oyster. I don't think there's anything that stops you from doing what you want to do. So I would definitely say try it.
Why do you think the northeast not as entrepreneurial, Paul?
Figures back it up. From working with the lab previously, and
Yeah.
the level of entrepreneurship, new business formation in the northeast is really, really low. And I think part of it is people just get on. We are a manufacturing region, strong engineering region, but I don't think there's a lot of opportunity. And I think case studies like this to show how DME have grown over the years, over just a short period, is what we need to get out there and really communicate that to show people that you've got the opportunity to do it.
I think infrastructure also will be a big player, because if you look at the northeast of England and the River Tyne in particular, over the past sort of 20, 30 years, it's declined in terms of the amount of space available to people. So that's one thing that does need to be looked at in terms of want to push more space, because you kind of bring an industry here unless it's got the infrastructure to do it. How do you get the products out, especially if it's big, heavy kit? You need the cranes, you need the size sheds, you need the transport network to get things in and out. So that's something that I think the northeast is suffering from, and you can see it on every river. Not just South Tyneside. You can see that in Sunderland, and those declines in the shipyards have been replaced by mainly houses and things. Have been using that space for housing, when realistically speaking, my thoughts are it should have been reinvested into keep the big sheds, keep the big cranes, get more industry in here, because industry drives jobs, and jobs mean that people's going to come to the area, and then you're going to want, then that drives houses. That's one thing I do think that we, as the northeast of England in particular, I think we've lost a lot of that. And that should be a big driver to put back.
Are you hearing that in the automotive sector, Paul?
Yeah, definitely about space.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely about space. I think it recognises through that we do need to look at infrastructure, transport. In fact, the next meeting I'm going to is looking at transport strategy
Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. Any further questions for Darren?
Sorry.
Good, go for it.
One final one. Yeah, people is obviously core to your success. Do you invest in apprenticeships? Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got 2 apprentices at the minute. Our limitation on not doing it early doors was more around having the people there to teach the apprentices. So a chicken and egg type thing. But yeah, we've got 2 apprentices in there now, electrical and mechanical. We do graduates. We haven't signed up for a true graduate scheme yet. That's probably in the cards for the next year or 2. But we are taking quite a few of the younger lads straight out of university and sort of bringing them along. You need to do that in terms of, the next generation,
Good. Excellent. Should we leave it there, Darren?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. It's been really insightful. I could have spoke to you all day. I could love getting into the weeds about stuff like that. And thanks for your questions, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Well done.